What's up, you guys? Teller checking in for the recap of UFC 292. I felt that this was one of the most fun cards that we've had in the calendar year of 2023. I really enjoyed this fight card. Now, we had an 8-unit max play that cashed. We hit the clean sweep overall on the night, and we picked almost every fight correctly, including some underdog spots. The one fight that didn't come through, of course, was the Chris Weidman spot. If Weidman could have came through, boy, this card would have even been more epic. We'll get to that fight and what I think should be next for Weidman. I can't wait to talk about the O'Malley situation, the Ian Machado Garry situation. I got a lot to say about him. Trust me. Stay tuned for that. You guys know how we hit these recaps up. We start at the bottom. We'll kind of go through the preliminary fights quickly, and then we'll talk about the big noise at the top of the card, okay? So with that being said, let's jump into the first fight.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
So kicking this card off, we had two women's mixed martial arts bouts taking place. I thought that they were both pretty entertaining. What'd you guys think about them? Karine Silva gets revenge against Marina Moroz. I thought that was pretty cool. She even got that guillotine submission with only 1 second left in the round. Of course, if you guys remember, she was submitted by Moroz back in 2016, a long time ago. And, you know, the fight game is crazy, man. Time changes everything. Karine Silva is really on a hot streak right now. You keep an eye on her in the flyweight division. Natalia Silva, you also keep an eye on her. She looked great in this fight against Andrea Lee. Pieced her apart, bloodied her up. You guys know that Lee's tough, but she was really outgunned in that fight. And Silva once again shows that she is a very promising fighter in the division. And I would argue that she's a little bit more promising than even Karine Silva is. Both very talented Brazilian fighters, but Natalia Silva is the fighter you keep an eye on for sure. Andre Petroski gets the split decision victory over Gerald Meerschaert. That fight was okay. You know, Petroski dropped GM3 there, I think in the second round. He was a little hesitant early on. You know, that was what it was. Brad Katona defeats Cody Gibson to win the bantamweight bracket of the Ultimate Fighter. I was a little annoyed watching this fight because I stayed away from putting an official play on Brad Katona. I saw Cody Gibson looking to be in phenomenal shape coming into this fight. I saw like the size advantage, the length he had, but I really knew in my gut that Brad Katona was just too well-rounded for him and was going to get the better of those striking exchanges. Of course, you guys know I pretty much have action on every single fight, but I didn't make it an official play. I didn't put a substantial amount of money on it, and I was a little annoyed with that. And I was also a little annoyed that I didn't put an official play in Kurt Holobaugh. This was another fighter. You guys know I was on Kurt Holobaugh. We did the video of the two Ultimate Fighter fights separately. If you guys caught that, we were on Kurt Holobaugh. Had some action on him at plus 160, but I should have made that an official play, man. I thought that line really should have been essentially at pick'em odds. That the value is definitely on Holobaugh, and you know, I was really happy to see Holobaugh win the lightweight bracket of the Ultimate Fighter. He's really, you know, he's got things going right now. He's older, but he's really focused on the fight game, and good for him. I'm excited to see what's next for him. Gregory Rodriguez goes out there and starches Dennis Tialin, man, puts him down on the mat, big brothers him, just controls him down. You remember, if you had a big brother, if you know how that goes, man, your big brother's just putting his knees on your wrists. And I know that's not exactly what he did, but just to kind of get an understanding of basically what he did to him, just sunned him, you know, got on top of him. He could have pitter-pattered, slapped him around a little bit. You know, he could have had the put the spit out of his mouth and tried to see how low he can get it, you know, right over his eye, drop it in his eye, start picking his nose, rubbing it in his face. But instead, he chose to just drop deadly elbows on Dennis Tialin and just put him unconscious there. That was nasty. A minute and 43 seconds into the fight. We knew that Gregory Rodriguez was the superior fighter. The only caution we had in that fight was if Rodriguez chose to brawl it out with Tialin, which Rodriguez tends to do. He enjoys brawling it out. You know, there was always the risk of danger with Tialin finishing 9 of his 11 fights via knockout. He has some power, but as far as an overall mixed martial arts fight, when Gregory Rodriguez fights an intelligent fight, he's on a whole nother level. We saw that. Chris Weidman comes up short against Brad Tavares, and you know, it was the right thing. I'm glad there was a unanimous decision for Brad Tavares, because you could have almost saw the judges giving it to Weidman, because it played out not really close, but Weidman hung in there. He had his little moments, and just, the crowd was rooting for him. And, I was almost, just sitting there kind of anxiously waiting to see if the judges just gave it to him because he's Chris Weidman in the moment and all that. But it would have been horrible if they did that because Tavares chewed the legs apart. Chris Weidman, I believe he tore his MCL or something in his knee. Chris Weidman needs to retire from the game now, okay? Coming off that devastating leg injury that he had. Now I believe he has to have surgery on his knee. He's going to be out for another year. He'll be 40 years old. I mean, what's he going to come back and do? He's going to try to get one more W. I mean, the UFC would have to give him more of a layup type of match. If he can't go out there and defeat a guy like Brad Tavares, probably shouldn't be fighting in the UFC at this stage. Shout out to Weidman for everything that he did in the game. He was commenting on my IG post, fight morning. It was pretty cool. I mean, I really wanted to see him get that W, and it just wasn't going to happen. So, I took the flyer on him. I stand behind the pick. No official action, of course, but I stand behind that pick. I was predicting that Weidman could have showed up and looked halfway healthy, and he would have been the superior fighter. And I would argue if his knee didn't give out on him, if he didn't tear that ligament there, I think that he could have potentially took this fight. I was not impressed with Brad Tavares. He was extremely hesitant. He was throwing leg kicks from the outside. Weidman was the one pressing him. I could have saw that decision going his way if Weidman didn't get injured and was a little bit more clean with his work. Marlon Chito Vera comes through. We had a 4.5 unit play on Vera. Caught him at a minus 190 money line. And I want to tell you guys something about this fight. If you take a look at the significant strikes landed by each guy, you would assume that this fight played out closer than it did. Not to say it was an absolute blowout. I had Marlon Chito Vera winning every single round. And I just want to bring up a point here. 30 strikes landed, 30 significant strikes landed in a round is not the same as 30 significant strikes landed by another guy in a round. All right. If you're watching the fight, you have to understand what you're watching. Vera was landing so much cleaner of shots. The jab was beautiful. He busted Munoz up. He bloodied him up. He was landing way cleaner shots. Munoz was very active. He was landing a lot on the gloves and the arms of Vera. I like the energy that Munoz brought. I mean, he made it a competitive fight in that sense, but he wasn't landing nearly as cleanly, and Vera really started to pick it up. I thought that Vera won every round, and I was really pleased to see that the judges knew what they were watching because, as we went to the judges' scorecards, I'm like, watch this be a split or something like that. And obviously that was one of my big plays. I had 2 official plays, and we needed that to kick this card off, and we caught that there. Again, a 4.5 unit play at minus 190, and that was a great way to kick off the betting aspect of this card. Mario Batista gets the unanimous decision against Damon Blackshear. Shout out to Blackshear for taking that fight on short notice and keeping it somewhat competitive. Now we got to talk about Machado here. Ian Machado Garry. Ian Machado Garry, first and foremost, was the first leg of my max play, okay? I was very confident he was going to go out here and dominate the fight against Neil Magny. I really, really was. I'm high on his fighting abilities. Neil Magny taking the fight on short notice. Garry, from what I'm hearing and from what I'm seeing, he actually has a very underrated grappling game and underrated takedown defense. His striking's superb, pinpoint accuracy. He's going to give a lot of guys trouble in the division. He really is. He's going to be up there competing with some of those big names, those big up and comers in the division. I really believe that. I don't know if he'll necessarily get his hands on the belt, but Neil Magny, on the other hand, is a fighter that is definitely taking a step down in his skill set. I mean, he's getting older, and he's a tough customer, but the game is passing him up for sure. So I was all over this spot. You guys know I don't like Ian Machado Garry. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like his energy. He's the exact opposite type of guy that I am, and I don't like the antics that he did at the press conference against Magny. I wish Magny had a better mouthpiece and knew how to stand up for himself better and knew how to be a little bit more quick-tongued, because he could have eaten Ian Machado Garry alive. Okay, first off, Neil Magny said something in the press conference. I mean, it was kind of blown out of terms. Essentially, he was saying, he's going to teach Garry a lesson the same way you discipline your son or something. You guys know what he said, okay? You guys know what he meant by it. Magny's a good dude. And Ian Machado Garry is the type of guy, type of kid that was never disciplined in his life. I guess the term is like a simp or something like that. That's what he is, man. He's the type of guy that's like, you never do this, you never do that, without putting things into context. I would really even like to say more. Maybe you need the X-rated version of the MMA Fortune Teller channel here. I don't know if I could really go in and say what I really believe about him. I mean, this is a dude that's 25 years old, married to a 41-year-old woman who had a kid coming into the marriage, changes his last name to his wife's last name. I mean, this is a guy that's just this is the type of guy that I could see like some girls running around at a party drunk and punching dudes in the nose. And like, if you even try to restrain the girl, he would say, "You do never touch a girl. You never touch a girl. Let her run around and just punch everyone in the face." That's the kind of guy that I think that Ian Machado Garry is. And he's cringe. He copies everything off Conor McGregor. And I don't like his style at all. All right. So I'm sorry if some of you guys disagree with me on that. Hopefully you guys don't hold me to it too much. You know what I mean? I got respect for your guys' opinions, but I don't like Ian Machado Garry. Again, I can go way more in on him if I wanted to as well. I would love to get like an interview with him, put me on IG Live with him. We'll chat it up because he really thinks he's quick-witted. He thinks he's so sharp. He just needs to get matched with somebody that could put him in his place, and I would flip him upside down on the mic. So, and then we go to the other leg of my 8-unit max. And thank you, Ian Machado Garry, for kicking that parlay off, because we made a bunch of money on this parlay here. It was combined odds right around -150. We parlayed Ian Machado Garry with Weili Zhang. Zhang breaks the significant strike landed differential in a fight, absolutely demolishes Amanda Lemos. I do want to give Amanda Lemos some props, though. She's extremely tough. She was threatening with some subs, and she's a very tough customer and was very well conditioned. And I think that she could be a problem for some of these other fighters in the division. And she had that choke almost in, but Zhang is just so tough. And if you were to look at the strike differential, I don't think that it really summed up the fight in the extent that Lemos was really always dangerous. I mean, maybe when you had as much money as I did on the fight and you're sitting at the edge of your seat, I never felt comfortable. I was worried that Lemos could have cracked her with a shot or something. But Zhang really went out there and manhandled her. I'm going to tell you guys something right now. I've been very back and forth with who I'm going with when Zhang finally faces off against Tatiana Suarez, which they are the two best strawweight fighters in the world right now. I don't think there's really much of a question about that. Tapology has Suarez ranked as 9 right now. Suarez is running through everyone ahead of her, and the big fight is Zhang versus Tatiana Suarez. And I've been very back and forth with who I'm going to settle in with on that pick. You guys remember I was saying Zhang going into the fight, even as dominant as Zhang was. I don't know. I don't like the way that she was putting herself in positions to be attacked with the submissions. I'm kind of leaning Suarez right now. So we'll see how that goes when that fight finally takes place. But again, clean sweep on the night. And then we go into the Sean O'Malley fight. You guys know I had Sugar Sean O'Malley over Aljamain Sterling. Threw a little bit of money on him. No official action. I was a little skeptical in the pick, but you guys heard my breakdown. I just had a feeling that Sean's takedown defense and footwork would have evolved so much that he could have gave Sterling some problems there. You guys know I feel Sterling has been overhyped and overvalued. I know some of you guys get mad when I say this, but again, let's go over Aljamain Sterling's title reign real quick. He was getting beaten by Petr Yan. He was on his way to being finished. Go watch that final round. He milked that illegal knee. Okay, he didn't want to continue. He snatches the belt. I thought that he lost the rematch, lost rounds 1, 4, and 5 against Petr Yan. I was there for the fight. It was very close. The majority of fans on verdict do believe that Yan won those rounds. Okay, after that, he goes on and he defeats TJ Dillashaw, who dislocates his shoulder within seconds of the fight. Was essentially handicapped. It was almost like brutal to even watch that fight. The fight should have been stopped. And Sterling, it took him 2 rounds to finally get a finish. And then he goes in the Cejudo fight. I thought the Cejudo fight was the best showing of Aljamain Sterling. He fought a very tough fight, and I want to give him credit for that. But I did believe that Cejudo edged that fight when he took the 5th round. I thought I had Cejudo winning that fight, as did the slight majority of fight fans. If you go to check out verdict, they had Cejudo winning 3 of the 5 rounds. But give Sterling props for keeping it close. And then he goes out there and gets knocked out against Sugar Sean O'Malley. How is this guy the greatest bantamweight of all time? You see the UFC telecast talking about him on YouTube, the little the weigh-in show and all that. They're raving about him. I wish I could go out there and hop on the mic and really school those guys, because they're saying certain things. They really don't have all their homework. They were talking about some of the things that Dominic Cruz had said and kind of like not giving Cruz a chance to really defend himself there, because Cruz made a statement to some of those guys, Dean Thomas and DC, that if you add up his WEC wins, that's why he's the greatest bantamweight champ. And then they go, oh, well, if you take a look at Sterling's combined UFC victories, he's had more than Dominic Cruz. Not taking into consideration, we're talking about championship defenses. And then I believe there was only one win. Maybe I'm going to check at the numbers, but maybe Sterling had 1 extra win if you combine Cruz's WEC victories. Okay, now 1 win compared to the quality of wins. Do you want to go over the wins that you're talking about? They're including a win for Sterling where he won from the disqualification in a fight that he was getting beaten down in. You can't give him credit for that W. Okay, come on. So I would school those guys on the mic. You guys know the Teller needs to get this platform bigger and bigger so I can start to really go in on some of these guys that are on the mainstream or in the mainstream. And that's what we will do with the support of you guys. Please like this video. That's the recap of UFC 292. You guys know we got Mad Max Holloway taking on the Korean Zombie this upcoming weekend. I think we all know how that fight's going to go. That video will be uploaded to the channel very shortly, and we will have Dana White's Contender Series here uploaded to the channel very shortly as well, week 3. All right, so another exciting week in the fight world. Plenty of action coming your guys' way. And you guys, comment below. Let me know if there's anything you think I could do differently with the channel. I'm really trying to evolve this channel. Let me know what you guys think about the recaps, and if you would want me to go about these a little differently, and or any recommendations you have. All right, guys. All right, so that will recap UFC 292. Another profitable event. It's another profitable event. You know, it's just a lot of money came in. It's a little bit of a nuisance right now. We're burying some cash out in the Everglades and whatnot, and just we got to do something with it. It's just too much, and it's an issue. It's taking up space in the house. So, all right, guys, signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.